So we were discussing the compound data type, particularly list. And initially we have seen how to insert item, how to access existing items, and we started the discussion on removing some items which are in the list. So we have already looked at the keyword del, or how we can use the keyword del to remove items from a list. We have also seen that del can also be used to delete any type of data, any type of variable, that is variable of any data type, like for example float, integer, or string. Similarly, del can also be used for. We also discussed, or we concluded our discussion in the last class with the discussion on remove. So with the discussion on remove, we have looked at the ways we can use the list function, which is remove, to remove items which are in the list. We have also seen that when the item that we want to delete is not existing in the list, remove uh, returns an error, which I specified as an exception. We will be discussing on how to handle those exceptions in the latter part of the course. Today's discussion will be starting with another way of deleting items from a list, which is called, the function that we'll be using is called pop. So again, as I have stated in the last class, uh, it is the same pop that you might have used while writing some codes in stack or related to stack. So pop is a built-in list function. That is, we can actually invoke the pop function using some object of list. What it does, it removes and returns the last item from the list or the item at the given index value. So basically, there are two ways we can use pop. The syntax is like this: list, the invoking list from which you want to delete, dot pop, the function name, and then there is an optional parameter which should be an integer, which can specify the index from which you want it empty. If you kind of leave it empty, then you this function call, the function call to pop, will be returning the last item inserted, or not actually last item inserted. I should be saying the last item from the list. Now, those of you who already had some knowledge about stack, you know that stack last in first out. Sorry. So the last item inserted will be deleted in the beginning. So basically, from that point, it is basically the last inserted item would be deleted if we apply a pop in a stack. Similarly, in a list, it will be basically deleting the last item in the list. And note that the last item in a list is present at the rightmost position, or basically formally we can say the last item is present at the len L minus 1th position if L is the list, right? As I said, this index is an optional parameter. So it removes the corresponding item in that position and returns the corresponding item that has been deleted. So let's look at one example. Let's consider we have this list. So the primes, this list containing this. Now there are two ways of calling this pop function. As I said, sorry, pop primes dot pop. This will be deleting the last item, and this item will be returned. So we can actually store them. So if I use say d equals to this, and if I execute and if I print d, you'll be seeing d will be 12. And if I print the present list, we'll be seeing it will be up to 11. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11. So it just deleted the last item. This is one way of using the pop without providing the index position from which we want to delete. Another way is if we want to kind of delete an item from a particular position. Let's say we want to delete 8. In that case, we need to figure out at which location this 8 is present. The location is 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to make sure I can actually print primes 4, will be printing 8. And if I want to delete 8, what I need to do is, again, let's declare d equals to the name of the list is primes dot pop, and then we need to provide the corresponding position. If I execute this and if I just print d, it will be basically 8. So what it is actually doing, it is basically deleting the item in the 4th location and it is returning that item. As you can see, earlier the list was containing 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11. Now after calling this, it is now 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And this pop function has returned the corresponding item. Now let's look at another way, another kind of exceptional situation. Let's say call the pop function. So as you can see, the length is here 6, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we provide one index value, it should be from 0 to 5. Let's check what if I want to give a value or an index position which is non-existing. That is, primes 12 is not actually a valid thing, right? If I just print primes 12, it will be returning an index error because prime 12 location there is no element. Actually, the length is less than this index. So if I provide an integer like this, which is greater than, so in general, I can say if index is greater than the length of, or we can say greater than or equals to the length of the list, then it will be, so let's just call, let's see what could happen. You can see this will be an error. It's called an index error. Why? Because basically there is no 12th location in this primes list. So it will be returning an index error. In the similar way, if I want to print or want to access the corresponding item, corresponding index location, which is non-existing. Similarly, it will be returning the index error. So let's look at an example. So this is an example that I have already shown you. Primes this, and if I want to delete this, I just need to call this. I can also call without providing any parameter. In that case, it will be returning the last value, which we have already seen. There is another way of deleting an item from a list is called using the function, again a list function called clear. Now clear actually removes all items from the list, right? So let's just look at it. So let's say we already have the primes list. The primes list is containing this. Now, if I call the clear function, primes.clear, it will not be returning anything. As you can see, there is no immediate return value. But now, if I try to print the list, you can see it has become an empty list. This is the use of clear, using which we can actually empty or make a list, make an existing list as an empty list. Now, already we have seen a way of doing that, or a kind of similar way using the del keyword, right? But note that there is actually a difference. Can some of you specify what is the difference? Let's say I have a list, say 1, 2, 3. If I call L and if I call L dot clear, What are the difference between these two?
So clear function basically, but still remains as a list. L still remains as a list if I use clear. But for if I use del, then the data type is also changed. Like there is nothing. It can like L
Exactly.
is not a list
So
name.
basically, after using this del keyword, L will be non-existing. So let's just try. So now let's also just print L. And after this as well, let's print the list. So the list is containing 1, 2, 3. Now if I call this, after that, there is actually no existence of L, right? But let's do the same thing and try the clear. Sorry. Now list is containing this 1, 2, 3 again. And if I do this, after that, if I just print L, it will be an empty list. So this is the difference. If I call del or if I use the keyword del, the list will be non-existing because del, as I said, del will be removing the existence of the corresponding variable from the memory. But here, this clear function will only be deleting the items which are there in the list. Note that clear is a list function and del is a keyword. Del can be applied on any data type. Clear is a list, particularly list function. So we need to invoke clear using a list. But still, using del as well, we can kind of delete certain items or certain items. Like, so let's say we have again, let's declare a list, say 5. If I want to say delete, say the last two items, what I can do is tell L. If I want to delete only the last two, what I can do is I can specify the starting and ending, basically 0, 1, 2, 3 colon, and we can leave it empty. After that, if I print L, we will be seeing it will be 1, 2, 3. So using del also with the corresponding thing, with the corresponding uh, index values using the slicing operator, we can actually remove certain items as well. But can we do something similar like this using del? Yes, actually we can do that using an uh, empty slicing operator. Let's try that. So del L. Now if I print L, you can see it has become empty. Earlier, if I do this, this would have been deleting the entire existence of L from the memory. But as I am doing this, it is just deleting the items which are present in the list. So this is basically equivalent to here. Okay. So also we can actually specify an empty list using, in a list with the slicing operator. So what this will be doing is, this will be removing the 4 to 7, basically 4, 5, 6 element. Basically, these three elements will be deleted. So let's just try that as well, just to show you. So if I want to delete this, what I can do is, I can make, basically I can assign an empty list in the 4th, 5th, and 6th position. As you can see, earlier it was 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, with this line, what I'm doing is I'm assigning an empty list, in this location, in the 4th, 5th, and 6th location. That's why I have provided 4 to 7. That is 4, 5, 6. So 4, 5, 6, I an empty list. And as we have seen that empty list is nothing containing it, I mean, containing nothing. So that's why after 7, it has become truncated. So basically, it is becoming 2, 3, 5, 7, and then 11. Yes, so similarly, as you can guess, using this kind of operation, we can also empty a list as well. Like, so let's, for example, if I assign, so if I just print it, I hope you can guess that it will be printing the entire list. Now, to make the list as empty, we can also provide this, or we can assign an empty list in this. After that, if I print primes, it will be printing an empty list. Okay. So these are the main operations, or you can say these are the manipulative operations in a list. So all of them, except the access one, all of them kind of manipulates the existing item, creates a list, inserting a list, changes item in a list, and delete items from a list. There are other very important operations as well, like searching. I want to search whether a certain item is present in a list or not. So for example, you are storing the roll number or of all the students. Now you want to check whether a given roll number is present in that list or not. So we need to search, right? How can we search that? So let's say we have a list containing 3 strings, apple, banana, and cherry. And we want to check whether a certain string, as all the elements are string, I'll be searching string as well. A given string is present in this list or not. There are multiple ways. One of them is using the membership operator in. Basically, what we'll be doing is we'll be checking if the item is present in the list or not. That is, if the searching item, here apple is the searching item, is present in the list or not. So let's just check it out. So now, if I just print fruits, you can see the fruits is containing this. Now, let's check. So let's declare a variable, say s, which will be containing the value that we want to search. Let's say we initialize it with, say, something, say banana. Now, I want to check whether this variable is present in this list or not. What we need to do is, if s in fruits. So basically, if s is actually present, then it will be true. Then this statement will be printed. Print, say, s is present in we can also specify that it is absent. So s is absent in the list. So in this case, as you can see, it is present, but let's change it to, say, capital B, banana. Now, if I execute this, as you can see, banana is absent in the list, because this list, or this fruits list, is containing apple, banana, cherry, but this is small a, b, a, n, a. Small b, a, n, a. I mean, all the characters are in small, but I have specified, or I am searching for a value which is containing banana, but the first character is in capital letter. So with the knowledge of the strings, we can also, I mean, make this case insensitive, right? For the time being, it is case sensitive. So how to make that? We can specify just to lower. In that case, s will be basically small bana. I've missed one na here. So now if I print s, it will be banana, right? Now if I search, you can see banana is present that here that has been shown. Now let's make it a little bit more robust. So let's say I'm taking the searching element from the user. Enter the name of the fruit that you want to search. Okay. Say I have given APPLE, right? Now apple. Now apple is actually absent. But what if I want to make this search as case insensitive? So we can say that this is a case sensitive search. What if I want to make it case insensitive? So it's very simple. I hope you can guess. Case insensitive means it will be basically capital APPLE and small APPLE, or I mean basically all A, whether it is capital or not, capital or small, it will be considered same. Similarly, all other alphabets. So to make it case insensitive, what we need to do is we can simply make this as this. Now if I search, you can see apple is present in the list. Now it is showing this. But note that I am not changing. Earlier I was changing the S in the earlier example that I have overwritten. Here I am not changing the S. On the fly, I am converting it in place. This is called in place conversion. Note that this is not being stored anywhere. This s dot lower. Basically the lower form of the string that has been taken as input here. It is not being stored anywhere, and it is being checked whether it is present in the list or not.
So
Yes,
this is still case sensitive, right? Because in the list, if it was capital, if the
very
apple
good,
start with
very good,
capital
very
A.
good, very good. So you are absolutely correct. It is basically still case sensitive because in the list I don't know what the list is actually containing. So what we can do, there are multiple ways in which we can actually handle the thing. You are absolutely correct. I was saying this as is case insensitive because I was kind of having all the values stored in the list in small letter. But you are correct that this is not still actually a case insensitive search. Eventually, for this case, as all the items in the list is containing, it is containing is in small letter. That's why it is working kind of in a case insensitive way. But it is not actually particularly a case insensitive case. So can someone say how can we make it as a completely case insensitive search? So first of all, we need to convert this list into all small. I mean, we have hard coded it, but we don't know. We don't know whether there are. I mean, say it can contain say 100,000 documents or 100,000 strings, and by eye, it's hard to ensure that all of them are in small letter. So what we can do, basically, we can iterate over. So let's just print the fruits. In this case, so let's just to make it a little bit more complicated. Achha, okay, let's change it here. So the list is containing this. Is here N is capital, here C, A is capital. Now if I execute this, you can see this. So how to change all the items in this list into small case? There are multiple ways. I'll be showing you the easiest one. What I'll be doing is, let's say let's for the time being, let's have an empty list. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be iterating over all the items in this list. How can we do that? So for f in fruits, print f, right? Now what I'll be doing is I'll be appending the corresponding items in f, or the corresponding fruit in the list L But before that, I'll be making it as a lowercase. If I execute this, as you can see, this is printing in the same way as it is present in the fruits list. But now, if I print L, you'll be seeing all are in small letter. So now if I kind of copy it here, now it is completely basically an case insensitive search. I need to change this the list of fruit name in this L list. Of course, we can keep it. We can actually modify the fruits list by this. This case also it will be case insensitive. Glad that you asked the question. Yes, so by this way we can actually do this. Any question up to this? Okay. So another way is using the count function. As we have already seen, count will be returned a particular item is present in the list. So what we can do is now the fruits is containing the fruits. So let's just print fruits. Fruits is containing apple, banana, cherry, all in small letter. Now, what if I want to check whether, I just want to search the existence of an item in this list. What I'll be doing is I'll be checking whether, so let's say again, I want to search S, right? So I'll be checking whether the count of S in this list is greater than 0 or not. So if fruits dot count, and of course we need to call this S, call this lower function with this S. If it is greater than 0, we can say that S is present in list, or else, or else S is absent in the list. Now if I execute, as you can see, apple is present in the list. Now if I just change the input, so here I am taking the input. So if I give something like say some other, so everything is converted into small letters. So if I give say watermelon, now if you can see watermelon is absent. So by using the count function in this way, we can actually search for the existence of an item in the list. This will be very much useful. Also, if we just want to check the existence of an item in the list or in some place, there is another advanced way using which we can also search. That will be discussed while discussion on sets and dictionaries. But all these ways, either using the membership operator in or using this count function, there is a drawback or there is a limitation. It only checks whether the item is present or not. But what if I want to check in which location it is present? That is, in this case, I want to get the 0th location. That is, in which location the searching item is present in the list. To do that, there is a function called index. Index is again an inbuilt function in list that searches for a given item, returns the first occurrence of that item, basically first occurrence of the index value of the first occurrence of. So let's say I want to, so again, let's just print the fruits. So the fruits is containing this. Now I want to check in which locations this banana is present. What I need to do is I need to call this index function with say banana. And if I just print it, you'll be seeing 1. That is, in the 1th location, this banana is present in this list. Now, as you can see here in the syntax, there are 3 parameters: item, starting, and ending. So I hope you can guess what are the application of this start and end. For example, you have a large list, say 100 items or more than that, and you only want to search for the existence of an item in the first, say, 10 location. In that case, you need to provide start as 0 and end as 10. By default, start is considered as 0, and by default, end is considered as the length. So, of course, we can override them. So, for example, so let's declare another list, say L, containing say 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, right? So it is containing 8 items. Now, I want to check the existence of 5, and I want to check the existence of 5 in the top 5 location. How can we do that? So basically, oh, okay. So let's just do another thing. Let's just search with an item which is non-existing, right? So let's, it will be returning an error. So index, I mean, to call index, we need to provide an item which is present. So a correct way of using this index function would be to basically use the count. So basically, how can we make sure that this error is not happening? How can we make sure that even though the searching item will is not present in the list, the error will not be happening? How can we make sure that? What we can do is we can first check the count of watermelon, whether it is greater than 0 or not. So this means, I mean, if this is greater than 0, that means watermelon is present at least once in this list. Then I will be checking this. Else, I can see, I can actually print that item is absent. So calling index function is not applicable, right? As you can see, in this case, we are not facing an error. So this is the correct way of using the index function. Now coming back to the earlier problem. So let's say I want to check the existence of an item in the first 5 location. Let's say I want to check whether, say, 3 is present in the top 5 location or not. Basically, I don't want to actually check the existence in the first 5 element, but I want to check, I want to get the location in which searching item, let's say 3, is present in the first 5 position. Let me rephrase it. Let's say the searching element is 3. I want to check the location among the top 5 in which location this 3 is present in this list. What I can do is to print. I just want to print that. That's why I'm calling this print function. Then L dot index. And then earlier I was specifying only the item. Now I will be specifying the start and end. So I want to check the first 5 locations. So that's why I'll be providing the item that I want to search, in this case S, then the starting 0 and the ending 5. You can see S or 3 is present in this location. But now, as you can see, there is a catch. 3 is also present here as well.
Sir, hello.
Yes, question.
Yeah, so we could also use a for loop, and we could also match and take. I mean, you can take a counter for it, and we can index. I mean, it will increase when it is equal to 3.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So basically, using a for loop, we can get all the locations in
Yeah,
which
yeah.
this 3 is present. We will be writing one code for that. So for the timing, let's I mean, as you raised the question, let's try. Let's write that program now. Okay. So formally, it was written. I mean, it is actually written in latter part of the slide. So now the question is, I want to get all the locations in which this searching item is present. So by default, index is returning only the first location, right? Also, I mean, if I just remove all this, also it will be returning the first location. So how to make sure that I'll be getting the corresponding other locations as well? What we can do is, if I want to get, so just, I mean, without using the for loop, just from the intuition, how can we do that? As we are getting this S or 3 in the 2th location, next time we will be starting the search or starting or calling this index function with, so basically 2 plus 1. So formally what we need to do is we need to store, say, I. So here, in which 3 is present in this list L, right? 2. Now what I will be doing is, next time I'll be start the searching from I plus 1 location, that is from the next location up to the length of L. In this case, it will be returning the 4 as well. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now again, coming back to your question, or coming back to your suggestion on using the for loop. How can we do that? So for, let's say, I in range, say, so let's consider we are using this list only. So let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's initialize, say, 50 items randomly. Import random for I in range 50. Sorry. L dot append random dot randint, say from, say, 0 to, say 1 to 10 or 1 to 9 or 0 to 9, all the digits. Now if I print L, you can see all the numbers randomly generated. Now I want to search the existence of all the 5s or the location of all the 5s in this list. What I'll be doing is L dot or len of L. What I'll be doing is so let's just print. Let's not store the value anywhere. Let's just print. So what I'll be doing is, the list is L. I want to search all the index location in which 5 is present in L. 5 is stored in S, the searching element, you can say. What I'll be doing is L dot index. I will be searching, I'll be kind of starting the, so this is a very naive way. Every time I'll be searching for S from ith location up to the length of lth location. So now you can see there are multiple. So what this is doing, this is a very naive approach. What it is doing, it is basically checking from, so basically I'm starting from here. So the first occurrence of 5 is in the 2th location. As you can see, for this is returning 2. For this is returning 2. For this is returning 2. That's why there are 3 2s. then the 6th location. So I guess you can understand what the problem with this and what exactly I'm doing here, right? We can actually improvise on it. Like basically we can write another version in which we can kind of club them, all these 2 together, all these 6 together, all these 31 together. Here what I am doing is every time I am starting the search from the 0th location, as you can see, I have written this for loop, and the value of I, or the iterating thing, is basically the location in which I'm actually searching, or the location from which I'm starting the searching. So here ith location, first I is 0. So in the first case, the existence of 5 is checked from 0th location up to the 49th location. So it has returned 2. Next iteration, the value of I is 1. Now the existence of S is searched, or the index of S is searched from 1 to 49. Return 2. X is calling, is actually looking for the item S, that is 5, from the 2th location up to the 49th location. 2th location up to the 49th location. So it is returning again 2. Next time I has become 3. So the search is now from 3 to, no, not search, but the existence checking or the index value checking is searching starting from 3 to 49. The first location is 6 here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why 6, and so on. Now what we can do is, we can, instead of searching, instead of looking for the item from, say, we are searching, starting the searching from here, and we found that the first location is 2. We can actually skip this, or we can actually skip this to searching, right? How can we do that? We can actually do that using a while loop. So let's just change it. So let's just change it, make it a while loop. So while, say, using while loop, there are multiple ways of doing that. Again, let me tell you, let me remind you that what I want to do is, I want to check all the index location of this value, searching value 5 in this list L. Now what I will be doing is, say, while, say, let's make it a little bit interesting. While true, we know that this is basically an infinite loop, right? Let's define the, say, I equals to 0. Now I is basically the starting location. Print, or let's make I equals to, so basically, first of all, let's make the, okay, so let's initialize C with the number of 5s in the list. So as you can see, there are in total 7 5s in this list. Now what I'll be doing is, while C is greater or equals to, so basically greater than 0, again I need to make the starting initialize to 0. I will be printing L dot, so actually stored that. For the time being, let's just print, then I'll be modifying this. So basically what I'll be doing is, I'll be starting the search from here to here. This is the first thing, L dot index of S, starting from I, ending up to this. So this will be, we know, when I is 0, this will be returning the first location. In this case, 2. We need to then decrement the count to count of C by 1, and then we need to start the searching from the I plus 1th location, right? Or sorry, the location that this is returning, plus 1th location, we need to make the second search, right? Let's just make it a little bit. So I'll be telling what exactly I am doing. I'm starting with -1. Okay. And here in this function, I am making it as 0. Now, this I is basically returning at which location it is, I mean, the present S is present, that is 2. And then in the next iteration, I am starting my search from 3. Now, if I execute it, print I as well. So as you can see, so let's just make it more formal. Is present in location. So 5 is present in location 2, 6, 31, 41, 46, 48, 49. Now, if you look at the list, as you can see, we can already see 2, 6. Then it was 31, 41, 46, 48, 49, 49, 48, 46. Now, is it clear how I am actually doing this? This I was, first of all, I am counting how many searching item is present there, present in the list. Then I am initializing a variable into -1 because I will be searching, I'll be start my searching from 1 after the last location that has been found. Okay. So that's why in the beginning, when I is -1, the search will be starting from 0. So after that, the first invocation of this will return 2. So I will be initialized with 2. Next time, we should be starting our search from 3rd location. So that's why, so C has been decremented. C was earlier 7, it will be now 6. And the searching, I mean, the search of 5 will be searching, starting from 3rd location, from here. Is there any question? Anyone? Okay, so we are already running a little bit late, but we actually spent time discussing the thing, so that's okay. So let's conclude the discussion with this example. Actually, we have discussed this using this example. So here we have a set of class dates. Actually, 10 dates are there. 27th of August, 29th of August, 1st of August, 2nd of August, 3rd of August, and sorry, 1st of September, 2nd of September, 3rd of September, and so on. In each day, there is a present tag for basically this is for a single student. So the student is absent in the 27th of August, absent in 29th, 1st of September as well. He or she was first present in the 2nd of September, specifying basically by this 1. So using this index or using these two lists, how can we check the first day in which the student was present? So it is very simple. What we'll be doing is, we'll be looking for the index of or the location in which this I is present in this list. And then, so basically, as you can see, it will be returning 3. And we will be looking at the corresponding 3rd location here. So as you can see, there is a 1-to-1 correspondence. 27th of August, 0. 29th of August, 0. 1st of September, 0. 2nd of September, 1. So now the first day in which the student was present is basically this one, and this one is associated with 2nd of September. Now what we'll be doing is this portion. So let's just write it. So let's just make it a bit more easier to understand. So for I in range len of say like that can be used class states. Say CLS states I. Sorry. So I want to check whether he is present or absent. So basically present, this present list, and I'll be specifying this. So as you can see, the student in this day, absent, 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 the first present is in this day. And now I want to actually do this, the first day in which the student was present in the class. What I'll be doing is simply will be checking for the index location of 1. This will be returning the location in which the first one is present. So this should be returning 3. And I will be using this location or using this index value to access the corresponding class states item. Use as this. So in this day, the student was first present. Any question up to this? Okay. Also, the first day of absent after joining the class is also pretty easy. The first day of absence is basically the 0th one. So first day of absence, we can simply search for, so similarly, so instead of searching for 1, so let's just comment it out. This is first day of presence. And if I want to get the first day of absence, we just need to change this to this. So the first day he was absent is in this day. But what if I want to check the first day of absence after joining the class? So he had joined in say 2nd of November, September. After that, when he was absent, or the first day in which he was absent. So I want to get this. So what we need to do is we need to look for the 0 starting from this location, right? So we need to basically store this somewhere. Let's just store it, say first present in this variable. Now this first present is actually returning. Actually, this I want to get the corresponding location only. So the first present is actually containing 3 here, or yes, exactly 3 here. And I need to start the searching for this 0 from the 3th location and len of any present. So in this day, he was absent. The first absent he was after joining the class, 6th of September. Okay. So that's it for up to today's class. So next week we'll be concluding. Any question up to this?